Hello, everyone. It's Psychics Explained. It's Susan Gerbic. So much to share with you guys. I think I'll talk today, well, at least in this video, about my most recent experience, which was to go see Matt Fraser. And I guess you guys all know who Matt Fraser is. Let me show you a nice photo of him. Let's pull this up so you guys can see him in all his glory. I went to a large conference, just a massive conference in Vegas. Here's Matt. There he is. He's over at the Venetian, which was just a short walk. I mean, 10-minute walk from the hotel where the largest conference of skeptics is being held. I don't know what he was thinking. Obviously, he's not. He's obviously not psychic, and since he blocks on social media every account I have preemptively so that I can't. I guess I don't know what he thinks. I mean, of course, I can still see his social media. It's just not as Susan Gerbic. I mean, what are they thinking? The only downside of it is that he can't see what I'm doing unless he uses an account or something. And since he doesn't have that foresight, foresight to do. My last name used to be Forsyth. Because he doesn't have the foresight to do that, he doesn't know that his biggest critic is sitting at a casino just 10 minutes away. So, and I was going to be there, and I've known for a year, maybe 2 years this weekend. So I would think he would take out his calendar, or his mom would take out her calendar, since she's the one who runs his life over there, manages him, and take out the calendar and say, let's see what's going on when your biggest critic is going to be in town. Maybe we shouldn't book that weekend for Vegas or wherever or anywhere near where I live. I mean, whatever. Maybe he likes the attention. So anyway, that's Matt Fraser. He's a grief vampire. You probably all know that as well. Now, Matt Fraser, I've talked about on the channel many, many, many times. He is the person who was in the New York Times article when Kenny Biddle went after him. And let me pull up that link for you. Operation Peach Pit, which was the New York Times. We had the New York Times that went after him. Well, they didn't. We went after him, but the New York Times reported on him, which got him an awful lot of attention. So this is Kenny Biddle's article. Let me share it with you. And it explains what happened in Operation Peach Pit, which was we caught him not hot reading, which is what we were trying to prove that he hot reads. We didn't really think he would, but because we had a New York Times reporter embedded in our group who was writing an article about the sting I had done on Thomas John. The reporter wanted to see, well, for the New York Times, he had to see us go through the steps. And so we put it together as a traditional sting using hot reading and fake Facebook pages and so on. So it was definitely a success because Kenny Biddle and Donna Biddle and their team of people went in and interacted with Matt Fraser after the event and interacted with him as their fake identities. So Matt Fraser even signed the books to their fake identities and took lots and lots of selfies with Matt and these people who had been sent by me with the money from James Randi's Educational Foundation to go in and do a sting, and the New York Times art persons there. But Matt wasn't aware of any of that, so therefore it was a successful sting on Matt Fraser. His mom would not allow him to talk to the New York Times. Isn't that cute? She wouldn't allow him to talk to the New York Times whenever they let him know that we had infiltrated his group and his event and had talked about what had actually happened and everything. And that was in Pennsylvania in, oh gosh, 2018. So it's been quite a while. Anyway, so you may or may not know that what I was going to do is, here I am at PsyCon, the biggest skeptic conference in the United States, I guess, in the world, in Vegas. Again, we've known the date and the location for a couple of years, and he puts on this event there. So I'm going to talk about it. And I wrote about it in an article. I will show you the article, but let's talk about it because, why not? Here's the article I wrote for Skeptical Inquirer, and it reveals what it is that I had room to reveal. So let me see if I can share a little bit more than what that article does. And I'll put the link in the description underneath this video. So, I have this idea. Okay. It's a fanciful idea, maybe, that one of these psychics is either going to see that the world of psychic mediumship is starting to implode, and it's going to be unhealthy for them to remain in this occupation. It's not lucrative anymore. Well, right now it's very lucrative, but all it's going to take is one of them, just one of these grief vampires, to write a tell-all book and to come clean and say, here's what goes on in our industry. Here's what I did. Here's what, my interactions with all these other mediums and what it's like. And yes, I know we've been preying on people's grief and on and on. One of them is going to write a book. And then when they do, it'll probably be a New York Times bestseller. It will probably give them real fame. They will be able to be on every news agency you can imagine. People are going to be clamoring to interview them. And somebody like Matt Fraser, who has a very young family, his wife's pregnant with another child. Their little boy is very adorable. I think Matt Fraser might be a good one to do this. His business is failing. His numbers are really drifting. He's not getting another show. He can lie all he wants and say that he's a best-selling author and that his shows, he's the top medium in the United States. None of that's true. And I mean, I guess he's a New York Times bestseller in some weird way of how you use the phrase New York Times bestseller, maybe in people whose name is Matt on a certain day in metaphysical world or something. I don't know. It's just a phrase. Anyway, so he's starting to fail. He should probably go into some other kind of business. And I think he could be very lucrative and really have a better, healthy life if he was to be the one who decides to do the tell-all book. And I think that one of them is going to do it. And the person who does it first is going to be successful. You have to go all in and do the media circuit and, go on CNN and MSNBC and ABC and NBC, and the BBC and Al Jazeera and everywhere. You're going to be famous exposing the tricks. Now, I know I could expose the tricks. Mark Edward wrote a tell-all book, but Matt Fraser's in a different position. And I think that somebody like him could really take the world by storm and release the information, much as they did in Psychic Mafia. That's a really good book if you read it. But again, Psychic Mafia was a long time ago, and it was before the internet. So it was very hard to get the word out about what was going on in that world. So let me turn off this little blinky thing back here. It's kind of getting my nerves. Cute, but in the background, it's kind of getting on my nerves. So Matt Fraser, like I said, somebody's going to do it eventually. And if he doesn't do it and somebody else does, well, you don't want to be last, because the last person to do this is going to be, or even the second person or the third person who comes clean or tries to come clean, is going to look really awful. So you should be first. Isn't that what they say about a plea deal? Whenever you've committed a crime and the lawyers and the district attorneys searching around you, trying to figure out, who should they get a plea deal? They go for the biggest fish they can, and they get a plea deal for them, and they're going to get the sweetest cut. They're going to get the least time. They're going to get the smallest fine. They're going to be the one who gets the most kudos. And so I think, be first. Anyway, I'll help you do that, Matt, if you're watching. it won't eat on you. I think that, I know that Sylvia Brown and other people, I think that it over time, it's just bad on your body to be living this life and this lie for as long as you have to do because there's no turnoff. You're always on. Everybody who knows you, well, everybody who's around you, other than maybe your very close family members who know what's going on, everybody around you is constantly focused on you talking to the dead. I mean, that's you're on 24/7 anytime you're anywhere. You can't shop, you can't use social media, without that's your conversation about the dead. What is the dead saying? What are they saying? What is my dad saying? What's he saying now? What's he saying now? How about my sister? What about my dog? And you can't function as a just a normal human being. There's no off switch. And people like Matt Fraser say that, they're around all the time. In fact, the show I was just at, he said he started off saying that he's at the Venetian, nice casino. He says that in anticipation for the event, Friday and Saturday night, the dead had been knocking on his door because they were so excited knowing he's going to do this show Friday and Saturday. So dead people knock on doors. They don't come in and talk to him. He says he sees them all over the place. So they knock on doors and really anticipating they're going to be able to speak through Matt Fraser. I mean, the whole thing makes no sense. But sadly, I was there and oh my gosh, you guys, there was no skepticism at all. I was it. They believed anything out of his mouth. Very frustrating. So, all right. So what ends up happening is I want to go and see Matt Fraser as Susan Gerbic. And I want to see what happens. I want to see if he's going to cancel my ticket. I want to see if he's going to try to read me. I want to see if it disturbs him. I want to know if he's anticipating me showing up. In other words, did he look at his VIP list? So what I did is I bought the most expensive ticket I could get, which is front, middle, second row, right in front of the stage. Very close. He will be able to see me with all the lights, the house lights, no matter what they're going to be able to be on. I bought a VIP pass, which means that I was able to go beforehand and get some special attention from him. I'll be able to have a conversation with him beforehand. So I registered under Susan Gerbic with my regular email, which is Susan Gerbic at yahoo.com. I put my name and used my Susan Gerbic credit card. I did this over Ticketmaster. And I received an email to the Susan Gerbic account saying, we got your order and all that. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not blacklisted. That email isn't blacklisted either. And I waited and checked my email, nothing. And then I kept waiting, nothing. And I had received messages from him, from his emails in the past saying, looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. And I'm like, well, okay, I guess we'll have a talk. So it was like $260, I think is what I ended up paying. Well, my nonprofit About Time and the James Randi Educational Foundation, the people who donate paid for it, thankfully. So I wore a jacket that has the word Gerbic, my name Gerbic, about this big on the back. I want to make sure he saw and knew who I was. And I mean, the name Susan Gerbic, come on now. I am his biggest critic. I am the reason why he had that New York Times article. I am the reason why he knows what Operation Peach Pit is. And he's used it on a TV show. Gosh, I can't find it now, but I remember somebody in the media asking him about that. And he goes, oh, well, yeah, Operation, Yeah, well, we love skeptics, and I welcome all skeptics to attend and then change the subject really quickly. I've got to find that. If somebody else knows where it is, I can't find it within my vast collection of Matt Fraser videos. So the day comes. Everybody else is at Saigon, and they're going to go see Neil deGrasse Tyson give a talk. I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I want to go see Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I've seen him many, many times. He's a fellow of the same organization that I am. And he was giving a talk that night, Friday night. But I said, no, I got to go see Matt Fraser. So I get a Uber, go down to the hotel. It's 10 minutes away, but I wasn't really sure. And I wanted to get there early. So I get in, I'm at the venue. I will show you a photo. And I, at the Venetian, like I said, it's a beautiful place. And this is a little tiny, it's their smallest, I guess they call it a smaller venue inside the Venetian. The Venetian's massive. So here it is. And then they've got these doors. It's very nice, very, very, very amazing. Look, America's top psychic medium. This is the America's top. If he's the top, oh my gosh, they're in trouble. So, I'm waiting outside these doors, hanging out. And then a group of people shows up, and I'm like, oh, so this must be the place where we're waiting to see Matt Fraser. And they're like, oh, yes, it is. And it got really awkward really quickly because I was not praising Matt Fraser. I was not skeptical either. I was just me, just kind of hanging out. And they obviously were with each other. There was groups together, and they were talking about how they've seen him multiple times, many, many times. And, I was having conversations with these people or listening into the conversations, and they would say, oh, he's the real deal because he gives really great information that nobody else there's no way anybody could know. And he read my brother, he read my sister, he read my grandmother or whatever. And so they were just going on and giving just this ambiguous kind of, I don't know, just fans. So they're all VIP. So I go in and they let us in finally, and we had to, uh, give them our name and so on. And they gave me this little gift bag. Now I knew I was going to get a photo, but I thought I was going to get him to sign it in front of me, and I wanted him to sign it in front of me to Susan Gerbic. He didn't do that because they gave me this gift bag. See, it's got the little wing on it, the little gold wing. Isn't it cute? So they gave me this gift bag, and inside it has a copy of his book. Oh my gosh, Matt, thank you. And don't wait till you're dead. And inside, he signed it. Can't wait. And I got a dream journal. It's blank. It's just a blank book. I think I'll use it for something. We are all psychic through our dreams, Matt Fraser. So I guess it's a blank book that he's got. And I got 8 by 10 glossy. Always believe, Matt. Oh, I'm going to put this up on my bed so I can have better dreams at night. Undeniable proof of life after death. America's top medium. And here's what else you get for 260 or whatever dollars it was. I got a lanyard. OMG. And it has his picture on it and his name on it. And it's a fancy pants, nice lanyard. It's very nice. Thank you, Matt. I will treasure it forever, forever and ever. Um, so I got all that, put it on, carrying my bag. And again, I'm the only person there by myself. Everybody else is with a group or a couple or something. And it is probably, there's 30 people in the VIP, and 25 of them are women, 5 mil, I counted. And so we're just there, we're there, and we're there. And then the people who work there have worked with Matt before. They're like the venue for the Venetian, not like working for him. So they're like, oh, he's very nice. And oh, we've had, he's always so great to have here. And, he has a nice crowd. And then we see his wife and a little baby in a stroller, coming in. Their child's about 2. And we see them going into the venue. And then Matt Fraser's handler comes out, the person who's his tour manager. He comes out and he says, "Oh, Matt's waiting to see you guys. He's very excited about seeing you guys." I'm thinking, "Oh yeah, I bet he is." Some psychic. And he says, "You can go in and you can take pictures with him and you can hug him. He's just very lovable and he's really looking forward to meeting you." And I'm like, "Oh, I bet he's really looking forward to meeting me." So we go in. Okay, we're all lined up. And he's on this giant stage. And I don't think I have a picture of this stage. Let me see if I do, because I didn't take pictures of inside because they wouldn't just turn off our camera. Oh, here's a picture of the receipt. See, section 2, row B, seat 32. So I'm right smack dab in the middle. And it's a largish stage. And what they have there is he's standing right in the middle. He's a good-looking man, very thin, well dressed, glamoury, very glamour. Lots of flash. The watch is very expensive, and that kind of thing. So he's standing on the stage. So you have to walk up these 2 steps, and there's somebody there to help you walk up the 2 steps so you don't trip or something. And then you hand your camera to his tour guide. And I gave him my bag also. I was the 5th person, 5th group, because like 2 people would go, there were a couple. So I was the 5th of the groups that got to go up to him. So, which is great because that means I'm right at the very beginning. So I'm there to troll him and just push him off his game. So I want to do that early on, right? So that was a success. So I go up, I give the tour guide my bag and my phone so that I can have some nice photos with him. And Matt's there and he's very charming. This is kind of his thing. He's very charming. And he says, "Hi." And I'm like, "Hey." And he goes in and he hugs me and you're like, "Okay, well, I give him a little hug back." And then you stand back and he says, "Here, let me show you photos." Because his tour manager is taking pictures as this happens. So here he is going in for my hug. Okay. My jacket says Gerbeck right on the back of him. Look at that watch. Let's see. And his ring, lots of bling. And he goes in for the hug. And then we stand there and we talk. So I say to him, "Matt, you don't remember me." And he's like, "No, I don't." And I'm like, "I'm Susan Gerbeck." And I pause just like that because I want to make sure it has a chance to register in his brain. I say, "I'm Susan Gerbeck, you know, from Operation Peach Pit, the New York Times." And he says, he goes, "Oh." And you could tell his face is like, "Oh shit." Like what? And I wish I had a camera on him at that moment. My gosh, it was priceless. Oh, it kind of faded his thing. And I could tell his mind was just like, "What? This is Susan Gerbeck from the New York Times, Operation Peach Pit." Jeez. And this, I swear, is so interesting. What he does next, he says, he kind of half turns, "Oh, my wife and son, she's pregnant over here." And he kind of like gestures very weakly, like over here, because his wife and his son, and she's pregnant, and she's over there with his mom, and they're just right there off the stage, interacting, and she's trying to do whatever she's doing with her little boy. And it was fascinating because for a moment, his mind just was like, "What It's really off the game because he's very charming and he's just, like, oh, I did that, and thank you so much for watching my show, and oh, I love you too, and thank you, and oh, I hope I give you a reading tonight. He's just very like that. So whenever this happened, he just like went blank. That's the best way I can explain it, is he kind of went, oh my gosh, what now? And I think he defaulted to his wife and kid over to the stage, like, oh, the things he loves the most, I hope. But a lot of people tell me they question this moment. And a lot of people say that they think that he was trying to say, don't embarrass me in front of my kid and my wife and my family. Don't do anything. Like, I don't know what you're here for, but don't do that. But it was all within like a few seconds. So I think he just was so knocked off of his game, he just kind of went blank for a moment. And then he said, and then we ended up taking photos. Here, let me show you the photos that his tour guide takes. I'm like, oh, we're going to take photos. And there's the photos. He bends down to be at my height. I don't know why. I mean, be your own height. I guess so we can see his name. They probably planned it. And here I am with my eyes closed because, of course, the tour manager's just taking pictures. He's not really saying anything. I do a much better job. So then, oh, here he is. Oh, I'll show you that in a second. So here he is thinking very fast, and he says, I said, we've been following your show. We've been following you, and we wanted to see what you're up to, see what's going on. I wanted to see your show. And he says, oh, did you have to come far? Which is an odd thing to say. I said, oh, I'm in California. And I'm attending a giant skeptics conference very close nearby. He goes, oh, um, you know, just kind of like racing again. Why is Susan Gerbic here? That's probably what he's thinking. He's not psychic, so he can't really know. And then he says, I said, well, we're looking forward to your show tomorrow too. He goes, oh, thanks for supporting the show. And I walk off stage and they help me down the stairs, and I go, and the person puts me in my row two. And the next people come up, and he's immediately back into his charmingness. Now, the interesting thing is he is very close to me. I'm center stage. He's positioned himself right under the logo where it says Matt Fraser, and I'm straight in his line of sight. It is, people have to walk up. He he can't help but looking at me. I mean, well, he he's turned, he's not looking at me, but he's right in front of me. I can see him sneaking little glances at me. So I sit down in the back of, in my chair, just kind of comfortably. And I bring out a bright red notebook because I want to make sure it is obvious that I have a bright red notebook and a pencil, cross my leg, balance it on there. And I'm like this, just looking at him. You know, that's all I'm doing. And it must have been nerve-wracking because he's got to be his charming self. But I'm sure he's in his mind thinking, why is Susan Gerbic here? But more than that, why is Susan Gerbic here as Susan Gerbic? Why did she buy the most expensive pass and sit in the row where it is like the most straight on to his thing he's going to do? Why is she registered under Susan Gerbic with her jacket with the Gerbic on the back? And she came up to me and she mentioned that she's who she is and mentioned the New York Times. Why is she doing that? There's no reason for me to do that. That's not how I ever do any stings if he follows. And that was a surprise, right? So I'm sitting there and they're just letting the VIP people in. And he goes on and on with the other 25 people or so, greeting them. And then he's on stage. He's like, okay, bye, everybody. I'll be back in a few minutes. So he walks off stage, and what's going on is now they're going to start seating the regular people in there. Now, I went and looked up on the Venetian's website to see how many people sit in that. What is a full crowd? And it's 1,500 people can fit in that room. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking when it's fully full, well, when they're finished putting people in, and I'm thinking it's half full. But I swear there is no way there was 900 people there. It was pretty spread out, but I have a feeling that like the upper rows were closed down and they had people farther down. But I wish I could have taken some photos. But they came right out and they were telling everybody, no photos, no video, no photos, no video, no photos, no video, no recording of any kind. I'm like, no problem. I got my notebook right here, So I'm fine with that. But I wish I would been able to take some photos because it really was, it looked like half, but it had to be a lot less than that. I can't think there was more than 400 people in that room. For America's Top Medium in Vegas on a Friday night, that seems pretty odd. But, I couldn't count them. But they managed to get everybody seated pretty well and fairly fast, and there wasn't that many ushers and stuff. So it wasn't like a giant crowd of people or anything like that. So so I'm assuming that he's backstage quickly looking to see like my social media or looking to see how I bought the ticket, or they've got cameras watching where he can look, security cameras that can watch the crowd, and he's watching me. I know he's watching me. I'm sure he's watching me, and I'm not psychic. Neither is he. And so he's probably like telling his mom, what the heck? Why is she here as her? The only thing I can think he would think is that I was there with the New York Times writing an article or an expose or something. There's no other, what other reason would there be there? Why would I pay so much money? So he's probably looking around the room trying to figure out who's the plants, one or two or more. And I did say we will be there. We are watching a show. We are looking forward to coming back tomorrow. So I assume he's watching. So I'm just kind of like looking slyly off into the corner, making eye contact with people, various people walking by going, or, or, or texting, but making sure this check close to me because I'm sure the security cameras can see if they want, acting like I'm there with people. Not, I'm there by myself. Everybody else is seeing Neil deGrasse Tyson. So, unfortunately, this video is going to get longer. Let's see. So you can read my article. If you want to stop here, this is a good time to stop. So I'm going to start telling you what kind of some of the things that happened that I'll mention in the article. If you do decide to stop right now, please like and subscribe. Please leave me comments. Please, please, please hit the little bell so that you'll be notified whenever I put out the other articles. Okay, for those of you who are staying with me, I thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's go over this a little bit more. So Mark Edward has my partner, who he always said that these psychic mediums are performers, just like a comedian, an actor, anybody who's doing a live performance of any kind. If you knock them off their game and shake them up a little bit, then what it does is it shakes up the whole night, the whole thing. It just they rely on that the people who are paying to go to these events are not going to disrupt, and they're going to be fans, and they paid money and they waited and all that kind of thing. So they assume that everything's going to go smoothly. I guess like a comedy club where people are drunk and stuff like that. Maybe not, but that's a different kind of person who does improv or does comedy. They're used to having people who are disruptive. But Matt Fraser and these other psychic mediums are not. Now, I am not going to disrupt because I'm not that type of personality. Other people will, but I'm not the type that will do that. So, but they don't know that. Um, but I know that going ahead of time and meeting him and doing this kind of thing shakes him up because his mind must have been racing like crazy. I was going to mention that other psychics have one time had an event during a time when there was in Vegas, when there's a large skeptic conference, and they don't usually do it again because we show up. And sometimes it's not great what ends up happening. So the room starts to get half full. And then Matt comes out and he comes out on stage again and he does his thing, which is he goes through and he does an introduction of all the stuff we've heard him say 100 times. You know, my grandmother was actually a psychic and they didn't call them psychics back then. And then he talks about how this story, I mean, I've heard this story a ton of times, written and him saying it on and on and on and on. And then he says his mom's there. She's going to be handling the microphone, his manager, the mic, his manager, his mom. And so what he does is he has all the oh God, he has all these phrases that he's always saying, and you can hear him say these in these videos. He always says, like he's doing his cold reading, and when the person says something that even sounds like it could be close, he says, shut the hell up. Like he just said something amazing. It's only tangentially related to whatever it is, but he makes it sound like he made this big hit. And he's always doing that. He'll say, he says, I'm shitting my pants. He'll say that. Oh my God, I just got the chills. Um, there's no coincidences in my world. And shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. He always does that. So I'm reading off of some of the quotes that I had in my article. Oh my gosh, it got so annoying. The audience thinks it's great and they tittered, ha, ha, ha. And I'm sitting there going, it must have been really awkward. I found nothing he was doing or saying funny. So he went through and he did his, as they say, his presentation of what to expect. And it might not be you're getting the reading, but you can enjoy all the other readings that are going on around you and blah, 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 blah. Then he goes to people and he starts his reading. So some of the ones that I wrote down in this article are who had the baby that passed? And the woman says, not that I know of. And he says, it was his brother. And she goes, no. And he goes, it was a stillborn birth. And she says, well, he had a complicated household. And he goes, can I give you a hug? He wants me to give you a hug because that's what he does is after Matt's done, he with whatever to transition to the next person. He's like, oh, and they're telling me they want me to give you a hug. So that's kind of his charm. And anybody who's on the level of about to cry or is starting to cry, whenever they reach out and they get the hug, that's it. They lose it. And of course they feel better. They think they've just had a proxy hug from the person they love. He only named, oh, this was funny. He gets up there and he says, I'm not the kind of guy, I'm not the kind of psychic that's going to go, hey, who here has a Joe that died? No, I'm going to give you something specific. I don't put up with that bullshit. And the audience laughs. And I'm thinking, that's exactly what you do. Except you'll say to the person something so vague, like, why am I hearing the name Joe? And then they're supposed to figure out how there's a Joe. And if you can't figure out how there's a Joe, maybe it's Joanne, Josephine, Johnson, somewhere there's a hit that's got a name that's sort of like Joe somehow. But there's only 4 times that Matt put out a name. One woman, he's talking to her about her mom. And he says, who's the Betty that knows your mom? She's like, I don't know, Betty. And he's like, no, your mom's telling me there's a Betty. She's like, he's like, somebody from her work? She's like, I don't know. And he goes, it's Elizabeth. It's a short name for Elizabeth. And she's still confused. She doesn't know anything. He's like, well, and then he tells her um, to go and find somebody who knows her mom that would know some coworker about the name Elizabeth or Betty. So that was a fail, but that was one time he used two names. And then another time he says to a woman that he's already talking to about her brother, and he says, and he knows he's died of an overdose. It's just miserable what he pulls out. And the people are just crying, and just the worst parts of their lives are being redone. Your brother, he died of an overdose. Or why am I seeing a brother who died of overdose? It's you. Okay. Or your brother's telling me that he had a hard life and that it was hard for him to be here. And then the woman will say, yeah, well, he died from drugs. And he's like, yeah, that's what he's telling me, that it was an overdose, but he didn't mean to do it. So they're volunteering the information. And then he just says, yeah, that's what they're telling me. Matt, they're telling me, Matt, tell my sister that, these kinds of things. So he says, how did your brother connect with Brian or Ryan? And she says, well, my brother's name was Brad. He says, no, it's not Brad. It's someone in this world. Who are you here with? And that was another thing he was constantly doing. Who are you here with? Who are you sitting next to? And I found that odd because shouldn't you know? And why is it important who you're here with? And the woman, she said she got really confused. Well, she gets confused. She's like, I don't know who Brian or Ryan is. And he says, he's showing me pictures of himself when he was young. He says he was handsome and had many women at the same time. And he goes, and so he just changes it. So that's the only four names out of the whole 90 minutes that he put out there. Brian Ryan to one woman and Betty or Elizabeth to another woman. At no time did he give anything that was even slightly specific. Everything was vague as you could imagine. It was so textbook cold reading. It wasn't even good cold reading. And I've seen him do better cold reading. One woman he got in an argument kind of with, and this is so insulting. And if you read the article that Kenny Biddle wrote, you'll see that he refers to the exact same thing that I'm going to talk about right now. And I noticed it, and it's really annoying. He says to a woman, because he's talking to her dad has died and he knows it. Plus, she is old enough that it's probably likely her father is dead. Your dad is from another country. And she says, no. And he says, why am I seeing boxes, small boxes that he's sending to another country? She's like, I don't know. And he says, then Matt tells a story of a time another woman at another show kept saying no, and then came back one day to tell him that she had gone home and asked her mother, who confirmed what Matt Fraser had been saying was correct. So Matt does that a lot. He's like, oh, well, maybe it's your mom will tell you, whatever. So then so the woman starts giving Matt more information about her father, saying that, well, I don't know, he died this way and he died this and this and that. And oh, this is brilliant. Your father said he was grateful you were there with him when he died. Now, Matt already knows the father's dead. So he says, your father is saying that he was grateful that you were there when he died. And the woman says, but I wasn't there. I was on my way there. And Matt's like, puts his hand up. Wait, he knows you were on the way. So therefore, in his mind, you were there with him when he died. Isn't that good? That is good. That's smooth. And that's about the only time I said anything that was positive. I was like, oh, excellent. And and Matt was kind of close enough to me. I'm sure he probably picked up on that. Like I said, he kept sneaking peeks at me throughout the time. And I thought that's a good way of getting out of that one. Boy, that's really brilliant. I wasn't that you weren't there, but you intended it to be there. So in your dad's mind, that was the same as being there. So so then to the same woman, he says, he goes back to the boxes and the father being from another country, and he says, well, I'm getting these boxes. So they're like care packages. They have stuff in them, like cookies or little things inside. And maybe they're sending to him. Sorry, I got a little scratch in my throat. Maybe they're sending the items to him. The packages are coming to him. She's like, no, I just don't think so. He's like, no, he keeps bringing it up. So you got to figure this out. And then she says, now Matt's back up on stage right in front of me. And because he'd been walking in the audience a little bit. And so the woman says, well, because this is what a motivated sitter does. Somebody who's motivated to get a good reading, who spent the money, waited in line, and really wants this to work. She says, well, sometimes we would bring him cookies and they'd be in a package like a small box. And he goes, oh, and he turns around. So turns his back to the woman and goes like this. And then he turns back to her and he's like chastising her. Well, yeah, duh, that's what I was talking about. And she's all kind of embarrassed and stuff. And it's belittling, and it felt really awkward, but the audience was kind of laughing. And the woman's kind of like, oh, okay. And it's got to be very humiliating because he's chastising her for not catching on that cookies in a box that she has brought to her dad equal the dad sending care packages to people in another country because he's from another country. That's like, how could she not have known that's what Matt was talking about? And Matt does this all the time. In fact, lots of psychics do this. They subtly cut down the sitter because they haven't caught on quick enough. And Matt would do that at the beginning, because at the very beginning, he's like throwing out things to people in the audience. Hey, I'm getting a sister over here. And the woman might say something like, well, my sister-in-law just died. And he's like, well, pay attention. And Kenny Biddle talks about this in the article, that he noticed a lot of that. And if you watch enough of his live shows, Matt does this all the time. It's like a bully, like a cruel little snide attitude, like one of those family members you have that are just really mean-spirited. Like, well, if you were paying attention, if you would put down your phone, if you would stop eating so much, just, ooh. So another one was, did your dad depart in the physical, whatever that is? And the woman says, my brother did. And he says, I'm hearing father and smoking, smoking, smoking. Did he raise you? Did he do something outdoors? And she says, no, I raised him. Nothing really with the outdoors. I mean, but he hunted. And he's like, well, he says, hello, pay attention. You don't hunt indoors. And the audience laughs, and the woman's confused and she gets a little flustered. And he says, did your grandfather fall? Something with his head, a fall. And she says, well, he might have. He had a heart attack. It's just, ugh. And he says, did your brother have a dog? He had a dog. And and she says, well, maybe my mom knows something about the dog. And he goes, well, did he have a dog? I see it pissing all over heaven. She goes, well, I don't know. He might have, just, oh. Here's another one. Who had the operation and were they sick of being fussed on in the hospital? People say this is specific. That's not specific. Everybody has somebody they know somebody who's had an operation and they were sick of being fussed on in the hospital. Hello, everyone. So she says, my grandmother. And he goes, all the souls are talking to me like being on television. She was done with operations. And then the woman says, well, yeah, she had her leg amputated. And Matt completely misses the fact that her leg's been cut off. And he says, she passed a rosary on to you. And the woman says, well, maybe to somebody else in the family, but I don't have it. And you can see Matt's just a few feet away from her, and she's got this giant crucifix, the crucifix for a Catholic person right there. So that's why he said rosary. Anyway, I'll let you read the article. There's so much more. So it doesn't go on too long. Let me see. So he finally gets done and he goes back to the stage. His 90 minutes are up, and he puts up a giant QR code on the screen. He wants you guys to take a picture of it. So of course I'm taking a photo of it. And here's a picture of him walking past the QR code. He's on the screen. And what it is he teaches classes, of course. There's workshops and there's all these kinds of things. But because we are there, we're able to get the class for free. The first $150 worth of class is free. I'm sure it costs later. So it's really sad. Anyway, so he's done. He gets up, he's like, okay, here's my QR code. See you guys, everybody. Love you all. Kiss, kiss, kiss. And the audience is crying. So there's women sitting right next to me. Nobody's sitting in the seats next to me. On this side, these people are sitting here next to me and they cannot figure out. And I could see them kind of leaning over, like looking at my notebook. And it was very awkward. They're crying, they're tearing up and wiping their eyes throughout the whole thing. They bought front row seats. They weren't VIP, but they did get good seats, which cost more. And I was stoic the whole time. I didn't laugh. Whenever he asked for applause for somebody in the audience, I might have given him like golf ball applause. It was obvious that I was there as a reporter or a skeptic or somebody pissed off or something, because it was uncomfortable. There was an uncomfortable zone around me, engulfing me. And they never said anything to me, and I wasn't going to say anything to them because that wouldn't have gone over well. And Matt wasn't about to give me a reading. If he had tried to give me a reading, especially if they handed me the microphone, that would not have gone over well. I am not a shy person. So I would have definitely have mentioned Operation Peach Pit and asked people to Google Operation Peach Pit and the phrase grief vampire, so he is not going to want to give me a reading. There's no way I'm going to go along with it. In other words, I'm going to talk about how he knows me and you're hot reading, just like, you do when you go on to these TV shows, which he does. So Matt leaves. I decide I'm going to hang out a little bit. I stand up and I'm stretching, getting my bag together slowly, finalizing some notes in my book. I know he's watching. Of course he's watching from the back. And it was really weird whenever he leaves the stage and he's going off stage, and because like I said, the room is crying. But it wasn't like amazing applause. You were amazing. Encore, encore. And people are standing up, come back. The guy's supposedly talking to dead people. And they're like, oh, thank you, Matt. Love you, Matt. Okay, let's go. Where do you guys want to go to dinner now? Or, oh, do you think we have time to get to another show? Let's go get drinks. They're just going on with their life. Like they didn't just see a man talking to dead people. So these women, and it is all women, almost all women in that audience, like 6 or 7 women to every man. And the men are all with a woman, they're not like they're like me. And to them, this is so commonplace. It's a show, but they believe and they're crying. I think his exit was embarrassing. This guy's the top medium of America. He should have standing ovations. He should have tons of applause, tremendous applause. But it was just like maybe when you'd seen a movie and you're at the theater and you're like, oh, that was really good. Boy, that made me cry. Okay, look, we're going to pizza now. It's just bleh. Nothing, nothing at all. So disappointing. That's why I'm saying he's not going to get another TV show. I mean, seriously? He's not America's top medium. He can keep putting out books, and sure, they make a little bit money, but it's just whatever. So as I'm stretching and getting my stuff together, I'm looking around and I'm more overtly being obvious that I'm there with other people. So I'm turning and smiling and giving thumbs up and going, okay, like that. And I turn around, so my back is to the stage. And so I'm looking out at the audience. I find a group of people that are like gathering up their purses. And I'm like, like just more overtly that I'm here with people. And I kept doing that all over the place. So, of course he's watching. He can't be that stupid not to watch to figure out where the plant is. Again, why else would I be there? There's probably going to be a New York Times article coming out. So then I walk home. Like I said, it's a 10-minute walk. It's very easy, but I felt drained, just emotionally drained from the show. And the reason is because I just witnessed something that was fake. And I'm the only person in that room who knew, besides Matt Fraser and maybe his family, that it was fake. And it was really, oh, it just really hurt to know that these people's memories and belief in misinformation and this just nonsense, that they believe it. Yeah, they say they got something out of it and they felt better about it. Well, anybody who has a little cry is and they're thinking about their loved one, of course they're going to feel better. But is it really helpful? No. I can't see why putting fake memories in somebody's mind of what a person was really like is helpful. I mean, some guys mailing packages to another country, and that's a message he wants to send to his daughter, and that some guy's dog is pissing all over heaven. That's that's the memory you want to have of your brother, and that he's bragging about other women and sleeping with multiple women at the same time. And if he's showing pictures of, if Matt's seeing pictures, photos, that your brother is showing me photos of what a handsome man he was. Well, why don't you describe them, Matt? Why don't you tell me what picture we're talking about? Who's in the picture with him? What's my brother's name? You're not giving any specifics. It's just vague. But because the people want to believe so bad, or they need to believe, that's what we're left with. So I walk home on a Friday night in Vegas. It's like 10:30. And I felt empty and ugly feelings inside my stomach. And as I'm walking through, there's people all over. And they've got, like, I don't know if you've been to Vegas, they've got like these stacks of they're like little cards, and they go like this, and they're porn. That's what it is. These cards that are porn. They used to throw them at you and hand them to you, porn, anybody walking by. But now they have to like that, and they try to hand them to you if you like make a motion that you want the card. And they snap them like this, like that. They like that, like a deck of cards. And you see these people all up and down the street, and then you got people smoking big cigars, and they're like puke. There's puke on the sidewalk, and there are puddles of something on the on the sidewalk. You're not sure what it is. And then there's people wandering around, and if you know, trying to get pictures taken with them because they have these bodies with feathers and stuff, and males with, they're trying to get you to take a picture with them and give them a tip. And then you've got people who are like, hey, over here, we got a tour of the Grand Canyon tomorrow. Come over. And it's just everybody's trying to have their hand in your wallet. Everybody's got their hand in your wallet. And people are drunk, and they're walking with their big groups of people, and they all have the same shirt on because they're at some party or somebody's birthday party or some before a wedding or something, and bachelorette party, and they're all wandering, and I'm trying to get around these people, and they're like wandering around like this, and they got these big drinks. I get it. They go to Vegas, like Sin City. But these people are it's all fake. Hopefully this isn't how they act around their moms and dads and in workplaces and around their kids and at home. I don't know, maybe. But they felt like it's phony. It's all fake. And then after leaving Matt's show, I felt the same, like that was fake too. It's just those people don't know it's fake. And the people I'm walking near in Vegas, at least they're here to pretend it's fake, and they're pretending it's real. They're pretending that that woman or that man who's so buffed and has all this beautiful stuff on, they're pretending for a moment that they really want that person really wants you. They're really trying to get you to come over and pose with them because they think I'm attractive or whatever, not because they want money. The person who's handing you the porn is actually, well, I don't know what they would be doing that for. The person who's trying to sell you something else, well, we all kind of know it is a trip to the Grand Canyon. Maybe you know. So we know it's fake mostly in Vegas, and people are drinking too much and they're smoking weed and they're puking and they're obviously trying to have a good time or whatever. At least that's real faking. But what I just left with Matt Fraser was fake, and they don't know it. I went back to my hotel room, and I really wish I could have had a good cry. It was so depressing. My friends are all off doing other things, and I didn't, I texted a few people and I said, I'm back. And they're like, well, how'd it go? Come hang out with us wherever. And I'm like, no, it's okay. It's cool. I wanted to go over my notes and I made more notes. Really depressing. So I wrote this article. It appeared in Skeptical Inquirer like 10 days after the event. And I pinned it as, hey, Matt, here's what's actually going on. Here's what I actually think. And that you should probably come forward. You'll have a better life, a healthier life, move into a different occupation, raise your kids so that your kids will someday respect you, because I can't imagine them having any respect for you, for the kind of person you're going to become and for what you're doing to these grieving, manipulating these people. I can't imagine that your kids are going to look at you with pride. And when the world knows, well, a good portion of the world knows, and hopefully will know someday, that what you're doing is wrong and it's not, it's greed and it's fake. This isn't like a magic act where we know that it's magic and it's an act, we're playing along. This isn't like an actor getting up on stage and being Hamlet or, or something like that. This isn't like that. This is fake, fake. So I let him know I was there all by myself. And I let him know nobody from the New York Times is going to write about him. And I did say the truth. You're not that important. You just are not that important. The New York Times isn't interested in writing an expose on you. Nobody is. Just me, Susan Kerpick. You're not nothing. Your show was canceled after one season. You can't sell out a venue on a Friday night. Your fans were just, oh, good job, Bat. Okay, let's go have a cheeseburger now. Is it too late to get dinner somewhere? It was very half-hearted. Very sad. I think he knows it too. I really do. Charming personality, which is what sets him different from other psychics, but he's really not that great. And when you watch him multiple times with the same lines, it becomes grating on you. And I don't know how the audience was just like, oh, that's so funny for the 15th time he says it. But it is really old. I mean, he's going to be doing this when he's 40, 50, 60 years old. Really? You're going to have your kids holding the microphone for you when you're up there? I think they're going to look at their dad and say, hey, Dad, good job. I'm so proud of you. Articles I'm writing and other things that people are doing, they're out there. You can't Google him and not get his Wikipedia page, which has information like this on there. His kids are going to find that someday. I don't know how he's going to explain it and look him in the eye. Pretty soon he's not going to be able to look himself in the eye. It's just cruel. But anyway, so this time I was by myself. The only reason the New York Times wanted to do an article on him in the first place is because I said I want to do a different psychic this time than Thomas John. And the reporter lived near Philadelphia. And he said, I'll go wherever you tell me to. I'll just get on a plane and go. And I said, well, let me just pick a psychic that's near you. And then Kenny Biddle can go because he's right there in Pennsylvania. And that's why we picked Matt Fraser. There was no reason other than that. So the only reason anybody's going to write a story like that on you is if it's to catch you more in a sting, to just keep digging the hole and putting more on top of you. I don't see this ending well, and I'm not psychic. For you, Matt, and your other grief vampires, I'm not psychic. So sorry, everybody, this took a long time. I'll put the description to the link to the article I wrote in the description. As usual, I appreciate comments. I like likes and shares. Please follow me on all the socials. Join Blue Sky on top of all the others I'm on. And take care of yourself. Educate yourself, educate your friends, because if they're already in this position of believing into these psychic mediums, there's nothing you can say or do that's going to talk them out of it. They're not going to listen to me. So you have to let them know ahead of time. You have to let them forewarn them. Hey, just I heard this talk, or I read this article, and have a conversation with them about what I'm talking about so that you can help educate people. Forewarn them, inoculate them against this nonsense. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.